Shabbat Shalom, Israel. We're coming on another Sabbath, beautiful Sabbath day. I just want to salute to everybody in the faith. Uh, my ox and the Codes. Today I'm gonna get straight into it. I'm not gonna hold you long, but today I just wanted to touch on some of the false doctrine that's going around because you got a lot of it nowadays, and a lot of people who claim to be Christians, you know, they not really Christians because they not being Christ like. And the people who call themselves Christians in the Bible did everything that Christ did. That's what Christian mean, to be Christ like. People who call themselves Christians today, they don't follow the Bible. You know, they don't keep the commandments. They don't keep the Sabbath day. They doing everything contrary to the Word of God. You got people who, you know, who are call themselves Christians, but they are homosexuals. Uh, you got people who call themselves Christians, but they eat pig, they eat shrimp, they eat catfish. Uh, you just got it's just a lot of things that I see when you really know what's going on, and when you see everything that's going on, and you really know what's going on, it just frustrates you. But we're gonna get right into this lesson. Uh, uh, False doctrine. The first place that we gonna go is Matthew 24 and verse 3. Matthew 24 and verse 3. And in this, Jesus asked a question about his second coming, and he made a great big statement when he first started talking. And this has went by the whole world. This went by the whole world. So Matthew 23, the 24, and verse, we're gonna start at verse 3. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming, and the end of the world? And Jesus answered to them and said, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name. Verse 5. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. The first thing that came out of Jesus' mouth was take heed that no man deceive you. And apparently nobody took heed because everybody is deceived now. Skip down to verse 11. And many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. That's what's happening today. You got big time preachers telling you that you don't have to keep the 10 commandments, which is the law. And I can read to you all throughout the Bible where God said, if you love me, keep my commandments. If you're not keeping the commandments, you don't love God. As a matter of fact, you despise God. Now, the world didn't take heed to this warning. So you got a lot of stuff that people doing in the name of Christianity that's not Christianity. They doing it all in vain. So let's see what the Lord had to say about that. Let's go to Matthew 15 and 9. Matthew 15 and 9. Just one verse. And it says, But in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. That's pretty self-explanatory. He said, Howbeit in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. You know, people say, well, we celebrate Christmas. We celebrate Jesus' birth. It's really only 2 accounts in the Bible where it talks about his birth, and he didn't give a specific date. He didn't, as a matter of fact, he didn't even tell you to celebrate his birth. You know, and people say they doing it, celebrate Jesus' birth. That's doing it in vain. You doing it in vain. You know, they say we celebrate Easter. We celebrating the resurrection of Jesus. But you can't get 3 days from Good Friday to Easter Sunday. You doing it in vain. And he said the same thing. We about to read it in Mark 7. Just flip over to Mark 7. That's right after Matthew. Mark 7, and we're going to pick it up at verse 7 and read through verse 8. Mark 7, verse 7, and I read, "Howbeit in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. For laying aside the commandments of God, ye hold the tradition of men as the washing of pots and cups, and many other such like things ye do." There it is again. The Bible is too consistent to be misinterpreted, self-interpreted. It's just too consistent. Now you got twice in the New Testament, since a lot of people, that's another false doctrine that they say that everything in the Old Testament been fulfilled. But I can read to you plenty of times in Zechariah, Ezekiel, where a lot of the things that was talked about, spoken of in the Old Testament haven't even happened yet. So how could you do away with something, that's not even happened yet? As a matter of fact, the Old Testament talks about the abomination of desolation and work and a place of safety that we're gonna need to go during the Great Tribulation to get away from it. So if you done away with the Old Testament, you're gonna be in the world of trouble when the Great Tribulation get here. But people give you all this false doctrine, and and they think it's okay because it's been passed down, from generation to generation, from generation to generation. But people never bother to open the book and read for themselves. And every time you open the book to somebody, they'll say, well, I'm gonna see what my pastor say. I'm gonna see what he got to say about it. But your pastor don't even know what right day he's supposed to be preaching on. As a matter of fact, some pastors tell you we're Saturday the real Sabbath day, but we just do it on Sunday. So he telling you what the real Sabbath day is, but yet he still want to do what he want to do. But the Lord said hold a holy gathering on the seventh day, which is the Sabbath day, which we know is Saturday. And some preachers tell you Sunday is the real Sabbath day. That's false doctrine. Even if Sunday was the real Sabbath day, they don't keep it holy, because after you go to church, you buy and sell. You go buy the food for the Sunday meal. You buy pork for the Sunday meal. You wash your cars. You doing all this, and then you want to go to church all week, all Sunday, but it's all in vain. It's all in vain. As a matter of fact, let's get into the false prophets. Let's go to Ezekiel. Ezekiel 13. We're gonna go to Ezekiel 13. And we're gonna pick up at verse 1. Ezekiel 13 and verse 1. This is talking about, this is prophecy against false prophets, and like we read in Matthew, it says many shall arise and deceive many. And even in Ezekiel day, it was false prophets. Telling people, they was celebrating pagan customs. They was doing all this, making false images. But we about to read a couple of scriptures about false prophets. We gonna Ezekiel 13, and we're gonna pick it up at verse 1. Ezekiel 13 and verse 1. And I read, and the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, prophesy against the prophets of Israel that prophesy, and say thou unto them that prophesy out of their own hearts, hear ye the word of the Lord. See, they prophesy out of their own heart. They'll tell you all day, they'll say what the Lord said. The Lord said, he telling you, the preacher gonna tell you what he think, not what he read at this book. They'll bring to you his name all day. But see, they don't bring his doctrine. They bring his name, but they don't bring his doctrine. Verse 3. Thus saith the Lord, woe unto the foolish prophets that follow their own spirit and have seen nothing. O Israel, thy prophets are like foxes in the desert. He said these prophets is like foxes in the desert. You know, foxes are real slick animals. They real slick. And verse 5, ye have not gone into the gaps, neither made up the hedge for the house of Israel to stand in the battle in the day of the Lord. They have seen vanity and lying divination, saying, the Lord said, and the Lord have not sent them. And they have made others to hope that they will confirm the word. Verse 7, have ye not seen a vain vision, and have ye not spoken a lying divination, whereas ye say, the Lord said, albeit I have not spoken. Therefore, thus said the Lord, because you have spoken vanity and seen lies, therefore, behold, I am against you, saith the Lord. And my hand shall be upon the prophets that see vanity and that divine lies. They shall not be in the assembly of my people. Neither shall they be written in the writing of the house of Israel. Neither shall they enter into the land of Israel. And ye shall know that I am the Lord God. All right, let's skip down the same chapter, but let's skip down to verse 22 and see what it says. Verse 22. Because with lies ye have made the heart of the righteousness sad, whom I have not made sad, and strengthened the hand of the wicked, that he shall not return from his wicked ways by promising him life. Now, that one verse, I didn't even have to read really 1 through 9, because that one verse 22, it's a mouthful. You know, people, these so-called Christians today, you know, you got some Christians, you know, that a cosign, you know, I'm just gonna pick homosexuality. They'll cosign homosexuality. The preacher will tell them, oh well, you know, God love you anyway. You can love a man. You can another man can love a man. Another woman can love a woman. God love you anyway. Oh, you can eat anything you want. Just pray over it. Oh, that was just for the children of Israel. You know, they couldn't eat meat. They couldn't eat pig meat. Now that don't apply to us today. All we got to do is pray over it. See, they strengthening the hand of the wicked. So they ain't going to turn from their wicked ways. Now, let's go to Matthew 5 and 17. Matthew 5 and 17. And see, another false doctrine that they bring to you, you know, it's just one big preacher. He really just get on my nerves because he have an all-out assault on the law. You know, and he goes to Paul's writing. That's what they all, if they tell you ain't got to keep the law, they don't go nowhere but to Paul's writing. Like, they go to Paul's writing like Paul is saying something contrary to what's already been written. That's not true. That's not true. And T Boogie got a whole series on the law, so I didn't really want to get all into the law because he did a whole series on it. You can go back and look at those videos. But this one verse killed that you ain't got to keep the law doctrine. It kills that. Matthew 5:17 through 18. Matthew 5:17 through 18. And this is in red writing, so this is Jesus talking here. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law to all be fulfilled. All ain't fulfilled yet. The abomination and desolation ain't came yet. None of it. It all ain't fulfilled yet. And for those people who lost the law, the 10 Commandments. That's the law. That's the law you gotta keep. Alright? And you know, people for you New Testament Christians, well, you know, this should be this you should be keeping the law. This is in the New Testament. This is Jesus talking. So Uh, and for you New Testament Christians, we about to get into y'all right now. Let's go to Isaiah 8 and 20. Isaiah 8 and 20. Because how you gonna get a full understanding of a book and you starting at the end of it? You know, you say you don't need the Old Testament. How you gonna leave out a whole half part of the book and try to and think you got some understanding of it? You only deal with the New Testament. That's just like saying you got a house, but you only live in the attic part of the house. You gotta have the Old and New Testament. Let's go to Isaiah 8, and we're gonna read one verse, verse 20. To the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to his word, it is because there is no light in them. That's self-explanatory. You know, the people in the New Testament, Paul, John, what do you think that they was preaching about? They didn't. The New Testament wasn't around when they was preaching. When Paul was preaching to them Gentiles, they was talking about that. They was preaching out of the Old Testament. This thing is so messed up now, and like I said, the pastors are strengthening the hand of the wicked, so the people ain't gonna turn from their wicked ways at all. You know, let's read some more about the false prophets. Let's go to Jeremiah 23. Let's go to Jeremiah 23. Okay. Let's go to Jeremiah 23. This is one of my personal favorites. Jeremiah 23. We're going to start at verse 1. We're going to start at verse 1. Alright. And I read, woe be unto the pastors that destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture, saith the Lord. Therefore thus saith the Lord of God of Israel against the pastors that feed my people. Ye have scattered my flock and driven them away and have not visited them. Behold, I will visit upon you the evil of your doing, saith the Lord. And let's skip down to verse 21. It says, I have not sent these prophets, yet they ran. I have not spoken to them, yet they prophesied. Verse 22. But if they had stood in my counsel and have caused my people to hear my words, then they should have turned them from their evil way and from the evil of their doing. And like I just said, you know, these preachers, they strengthening the hand of these people. They strengthening the hand of the robber, of the homosexual, of the adulterer. You know, they tell them, oh, you still, come on, God love you anyway. They tell a woman, oh, you want to marry another woman, you want to be with another one, come on, God love you anyway. But God got a lake of fire specifically for the evildoers. And he gonna throw them in that lake of fire. And his second coming, he gonna throw them in that lake of fire. That's a hell of a way of showing your love for somebody. It don't make sense to me. Let's go to the next place. Let's go to Isaiah. Let's go to Isaiah 56. Another one of my personal favorites. Isaiah 56. And we gonna start at we're gonna pick up at verse 10. Isaiah 56 and verse 10. We're gonna read all the way through verse 12. And I read, his watchmen are blind. Who are the watchmen? The people that's supposed to be looking out for your soul. His watchmen are blind. They are all ignorant. They are all dumb dogs. They cannot bark. sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber. Yeah, they are greedy dogs which can never have enough. That should tell you who that's talking about now. You know, they pass the collection plate around at least 3 or 4, maybe even more. Some of them maybe even more than that. You got 3 services or however many they have. I don't know. It's two or 3 services in one day. You know, and they passing the collection plate around, especially in these mega churches. You know, you pass the collection plate around the mega church, 2 or 3 times a day. You done made. I'm just being nice. I'm just gonna throw a small number. You done made at least $10,000 that day, maybe even more. But I'm just throwing a number out there. It said they are greedy dogs which can never have enough. Some of them even got ATMs in the church to make sure you don't come in there broke so you can pay them their tithe. They can never have enough. We're gonna finish verse 11. And they are shepherds that cannot understand. They all look to their own way, everyone for his gain from his quarter. Come ye, say they. I will fetch wine, and we will fill ourselves with strong drink, and tomorrow shall be as this day, and much more abundant. Okay, now that just about wraps it up on the false prophets right there. I could hit more scriptures talking about them, but it's just a short little lesson, you know, to hold you guys to next week until we can get the series on the true Israelites finished. You know, we still putting the finishing touches on it. But I just wanted to point something out to y'all right quick. Let's go to 2 Corinthians. Let's go to 2 Corinthians. Second Corinthians. Let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 11. And we're gonna pick it up at verse 3. And you know, Paul was talking to these Gentiles, and you know, he told them about something here, and this is very relevant today. This is very relevant today. It's 2 Corinthians chapter 11, and we're gonna pick it up at verse 3. And Paul said, "But I fear, lest by any means as the serpent beguiled Eve through his subtlety, so your mind should be corrupted from his simplicity that is in Christ. For if he that cometh preacheth another Jesus, whom we have not preached, or if ye receive another spirit which ye have not received, or another gospel which ye have not accepted, ye might well bear with him." Now, Paul said, another Jesus. Well, what do you mean? It's only one Jesus. No, it's another Jesus. And this is the Jesus that preachers today bring to you. You know, they don't bring you the Jesus of this book. The Jesus that got killed in the midst of the week and rose on the Sabbath day. They bring it to you that Jesus that let's celebrate his birth on December 25th. Let's celebrate his death and resurrection on Easter Sunday. And you know, tell him he died on Good Friday. Let's celebrate that Jesus that loved a robber, that loved an adulterer. Let you know, they bring to you that Jesus that's not in this book. And you know, speaking of December 25th, let's go see what the book say about that. Let's go to Jeremiah 10. Let's go to Jeremiah 10. And you know, I know people are gonna see this lesson, and you know, they're gonna take issue with what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? But I don't care. Because if I'm reading to you out the book, I'm proving my case, and I'm not using my knowledge. I'm reading to you straight out this book. You know, if you got a problem with that, then you ain't kicking against me. Let's go to Jeremiah 10, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1 and read all the way through verse 5. Jeremiah 10, verse 1. In verse, we're gonna read through verse 5, and I read: Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord: Learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. For the customs of the people are vain. There go that word again. Vain. The customs of the people are vain. And we read twice in the Old Testament the traditions of men. That's the same thing. Customs, traditions, that's the same thing. He said they are vain. For one cut up a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. They deck it with silver and gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers that it move not. Verse 5. They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. They must needs be born because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil. Neither also is it in them to do good. What holiday does this sound? What custom does this sound like? That's Christmas. That's Christmas. And that goes to show you way back in the Old Testament, people were holding this, This is before the Messiah came in the flesh. People was, so that should tell you if people was doing this tradition before the Messiah came in the flesh, that it has nothing to do with God. It has nothing to do with his birth. We got a lesson on that too. Pagan holidays. Go back and look at it. We get in more detail about it. Now, let's move on to something else. Let's go to John. Let's go to John. John 3 and 13. Let's go to John 3 and 13, because another false doctrine that's being taught, my grandmama, big mama, or big daddy, or whoever, or Lil John, they in heaven looking down. If you was a bad person, you riding in, you burning up in hell. Let's see what the book say. John 3 and 13. John 3 and 13. And again, this is in red writing, so we know who doing the talking here. And no man hath ascended up to heaven, but he that came down from heaven, even the Son of Man which is in heaven. That is, do I have to expound on that? It says no man have ascended up to heaven, mean gone up to heaven, but he that came down from heaven. Who was that? The Son of Man, Jesus Christ. So Big Mama died. You say she up there in heaven smiling down on you. This say otherwise. Where did y'all get that from? Because y'all sure didn't get it out of here. Let's go to the next spot. Let's go to Job. Job 14. Let's go to Job 14. And we going to pick it up at verse 10. Job 14. And we going to pick it up at verse 10. And I read, but man dieth and wasteth away. So, man dieth and go to heaven. No. It said man died and wasted away. I'm still trying to read somewhere in this book where it said man died and ascended up to heaven. I can't find it yet. If you find it, let me know. But man died and wasted away. Yeah, man giveth up the ghost. And where is he? Verse 11. As the waters fell from the sea, and the flood decayeth and drieth up, so man lieth down, and he riseth not till the heavens be no more. They shall not wake, nor be raised out of their sleep, which is death, which is when you dead, you sleep. It says, so man lieth down and he riseth not. If he riseth not, how are you putting these folks in heaven, or how are you putting the bad people in hell? When it says man lieth down and he riseth not, he ain't going nowhere. He ain't going nowhere. Verse 13. That thou wouldest hide me in the grave, that thou wouldest keep me secret until thy wrath be past, that thou wouldest appoint me a set time and remember me. If a man die, shall he live again? All the days of my appointed time will I wait till my change come. Thou shalt call, and I will answer thee. Thou wilt have a desire to work to the work of thine hands. Now, you know that these are clear cut and dry scriptures. You know, the Bible is not of any personal or private interpretation. He tell you that in 2 Peter. He tell you that in the New Testament for you New Testament Christians. Let's go back to John. Let's go to John chapter 5. Yeah. Let's go to John chapter 5. Let's go to John chapter 5. Hold tight. We almost done. Hold tight. John chapter 5. And we're going to pick it up in verse 28. John chapter 5. And we're going to pick it up in verse 28. And I read, marvel not at this, for the hour is coming, in the which all that are in the grave shall hear his voice, and shall come forth, they that have done good unto the resurrection of life, and they that have done evil unto the resurrection of damnation. I'm still looking at this book, trying to figure out where when man die, if you good, you go up to heaven. Or if you bad, you go down to hell. I can't find that nowhere in this book. I've been trying to find it. Been trying to find it for the last year. I still can't find it. You know, it said verse 29, it shall come forth that they have done good unto the resurrection of life, and they that have done evil unto the resurrection of damnation. You know, so if everybody that died is in heaven or hell, you know, what's Judgment Day for? You know what I'm saying? I mean, see, the people make up this false doctrine, and it's holes all in it. You know, they don't have nothing to support what they saying. They bring it to you hearsay. Well, I heard, or they just bring it to you stuff that was passed down to them, and they never investigated. They never investigated. And let's shut the door on this heaven doctrine. Let's shut the door on this heaven doctrine. Let's go to Genesis. Let's go to Genesis chapter 3. Let's go to Genesis chapter 3. You know, chapter 3 and verse 19. You know, because people say, you know, when you die, you know, the pastor say, that's not Brother Johnson. That's just his shell. But you sitting here looking at him in this casket. You know, they said when you die, your soul float off to heaven and all this. Well, let's see what it say in there. This is now I read to you for all you know, you New Testament Christians. I read to you twice in the New Testament where it don't support that heaven doctrine. Now, for you Old Testament scholars, let's see what it say here in this Old Testament. Genesis 3 and 19. Genesis 3 and 19. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return unto the ground. For out of it was thou taken. For dust thou art, and dust thou shalt return. That's pretty self-explanatory right there. I'm not even going to expound on it. Let's move to something else. Let's move to something else, because this right here, I always trip out. I always trip out on this because I'm always tweeting. I love me some Twitter, and I see people tweeting all the time, especially Israel. We love our pork. We love our catfish. And I seen this one woman tweet, "Swine is so divine," and she always talking about how she love the Lord, and she gonna sit up there and tweet talking about swine is so divine. And I just shake my head and I laugh. One time me and my mom was at the store. This was around Thanksgiving. We was at the store. And every line we looked at, people picking up buckets of chitlins. You know what I'm saying? And honey baked hams and all this. And it's just people don't stop to read this book. They tell you can eat anything you want to eat and just pray over it. Just like I've been trying to find man die, he go to heaven or hell. I've been trying to find, where God said, you can eat anything you want, just pray over it. And God is real specific. He is real specific. He told us the feast days to keep. He put that in the Bible. That means he wants you to do it. He didn't want you to steal. So guess what? He put that in the Bible. He don't want you to kill. Guess what? He put that in the Bible. So if he wanted us to be like, oh, we can eat anything we want, just pray over it. Now, as specific as he is, I think he would have put that in here. If he would have said, celebrate my birth on so and so day, he would have put that in here. But I can't find it nowhere. But see, this is where they like to go to try to validate that you can eat whatever you want. Let's go to Acts 10. And we're going to pick this up at verse 12. Acts 10 and verse 12. Now here Peter had a vision. And we about to get into it. So let's go ahead and pick it up at 10 and verse 12. Wherein were all manner of four-footed beasts of the earth, and wild beasts, and creeping things, and fowls of the air. And there came a voice, and there came a voice to him, Rise, Peter, kill and eat. But Peter said, Not so, Lord, for I have never eaten anything that is uncommon or unclean. Now, for you so-called New Testament Christians, you can read verse 14 and see the word unclean. But if you're a New Testament Christian, how do you know what's unclean and what's not? Let's find out. Let's go to Leviticus 11. And see, a lot of people would say, oh, well, you going back to when they was talking to the children of Israel. We ain't Israel. Well, see, that's why you getting the Bible wrong, because you don't know who you are. If you don't get Israel right, that's why the whole world wrong, because they don't know who Israel is. We doing a series on that too. It's going to get finished up next week. Just stay tuned. Let's go to Leviticus 11, and we're going to pick it up at verse 7. And we're going to read through verse 8. Okay? Leviticus 11 and verse 7. And I read, And the swine, though he divide the hoof and be cloven footed, yet he cheweth not the cud, he is unclean to you. Of their flesh ye shall not eat, and their carcass shall ye not touch. They are unclean to you. Yeah, we saw that word unclean in Acts what we just read. So now that we know that the pig is unclean, and if you read this whole chapter, it also talks about the birds that you shouldn't eat, and the animals in the sea that you shouldn't eat, which is the lobster. I just look at people. People always think they, big baller when they say we eat steak and shrimp. We eat steak and shrimp. Okay, you keep eating your shrimp. Keep praying over it. We gonna see what's gonna happen to you. Matter of fact, let's find out what's gonna happen to people who eating all this swine. Since swine is so divine, we about to see what's gonna happen to you when Jesus come back. Let's go to Isaiah 66. Let's go to Isaiah 66. Let's go to Isaiah 66. You know, and we gonna pick this up at verse we gonna pick this up at verse 15, and we gonna read through 17. You know, since swine is so divine, well, we finna see if the Lord think it's divine. We about to see how divine swine really is. For all you chilling eaters, you know, I seen somebody they talking about they can't wait to put some hot sauce on some pork rinds. Well, okay, let's see what's about to happen to you. Let's pick it up at verse 15. For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. Now, verse 15, that don't sound like he coming down to do cuddling. He ain't finna come down and you know dap you up while you got a ham sandwich in your hand. Now, let's read verse 16. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. That means he gonna be killing up a lot of people when he come back. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens, behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh. Don't sound like to me it's too divine, huh? And the abomination and the mouse shall be consumed together, said the Lord. Still think you can eat anything you want and just pray over it? I don't think so. All right, let's touch on the last little tidbit of this false doctrine. And you know now, you can call it what you want. You know, I know I'm gonna get called anyway. I've been called it plenty times before. Well, let's talk about this homosexuality thing. You know, I see a lot of. I take issue with it because I see a lot of so-called Christians co-signing off on this, and you know they want to call you a homophobic because you don't co-sign it. Well, hey, I read the book. You might as well say Jesus is a homophobic too, because we about to get into it and see what he did. You know what I'm saying? We about to get into this. Let's go back to Leviticus 18. Let's go to Leviticus 18. And yeah, I'm going back to Leviticus, you know, and keep thinking that this don't apply to nobody no more. Just because it's in the Old Testament. Keep thinking that. Get Israel right, and you will get this book right. Everything will fall into place. Let's go to Leviticus 18. And we're gonna pick it up and we're gonna read one verse. Verse 22. Now, and this you can read. We ain't got time to read the whole verse 18, but you know he lays down the unlawful sexual relation commandments. You know, you ain't supposed to commit incest. You know, laying with your sister, your brother, your all that. But I just want to pinpoint this one verse in particular because people think God is okay with this. You want to lay with a man want to lay with a man, that's okay. God love you. Now, let's see what it say in verse 22. Leviticus 18 and 22. Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is an abomination. Okay, so if you around here if you a man and you around here laying with a man, you are abomination to the Most High. If you a woman laying with a woman, you are an abomination to the Most High. They pushing this homosexual agenda. They forcing it down our throats every chance they get. You can't even watch ESPN no more. They talking about this homosexual football player. They talking about that more than his football skills. They just pushing it. They shoving it down our throat. But That was talked about. They the times and laws are gonna be changed. If you really reading this book, you would know that. So if you read this book, you informed of pretty much everything that's going on in the world. So I ain't gonna say it won't irritate you, because it irritates me a lot, but it won't shock you. None of this stuff that happened won't shock you if you really in this book. You know what I'm saying? Now let's go to Genesis. Let's go to Genesis and let's see what the Lord did uh, to the city Sodom and Gomorrah. They was doing all this homosexual activity or whatnot, and the Lord took issue with that. As a matter of fact, we gonna read to you the consequences of their doing right here in this chapter we about to read right now. Let's go to Genesis 19, and we're gonna pick it up at verse 1. Genesis 19 and verse 1. Alright. And I read, and there came two angels to Sodom at even, and Lot sat in the gate of Sodom. And Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, Behold, now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, unto your servant's house, and tarry all night and wash your feet, and you shall rise early and go on your ways. And they said, Nay, but we will abide in the street all night. Verse 3. And he pressed upon them greatly, and they turned in unto him and entered into his house. And he made them a feast, but did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. Before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compares the house round, both old and young, all the people from every quarter. Verse 5. And they called unto Lot, and said unto him, Where are the men which came into thee this night? Bring them unto us, that we may know them. Now, in other words, they want to sleep. They want to sleep with some men. That's basically what all this saying. They want to sleep with some men. Well, now, if this was okay, then what I'm about to read to you should have never happened. Let's see what happened. Let's go to verse 24. Let's go to verse 24. Let's go to verse 24. And I read, Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the city, and that which grew upon the ground. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. Lot's wife, she, they was supposed to leave and they weren't supposed to look back, but she looked back and turned to a pillar of salt. All that. Let's skip down to verse 28. And he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward all the land of the plain, and beheld, and lo, the smoke of the country went up as smoke of a furnace. And it came to pass, when God destroyed the cities of the plain, that God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow. And when he overthrew the cities in which Lot dwelt. Now, not only did he destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, he destroyed the surrounding cities. So, if God loved Sodom so much, he wouldn't have destroyed the city. And it's the last place. Let's go to 1 Corinthians. Told you I'm going to hold y'all long. 1 Corinthians. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 6. 1 Corinthians chapter 6. Like I said, if God loves Sodom so much, he wouldn't have destroyed the whole city and the surrounding cities. He wouldn't have said, instead of in Leviticus when he said, Thou shalt not lay with mankind as you lay with woman. If he was okay with this, he would have said, it's like I said, because he real specific about what he want. He would have said, Thou can lay with man A man can lay with a man, a woman can lay with a woman. But if let's see what he said, about this thing in the New Testament. You know what I'm saying? 1 Corinthians 6. And we're gonna read verse 9 and 10. These are the last place. 1 Corinthians 6, 9 and 10. And I read, know ye not the unrighteousness shall not inherit the kingdom of God? Be not deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, nor effeminate. You know what effeminate mean, people? People who participate in homosexuality. Those are effeminate. If you think I'm lying, you got Google dictionary, look it up. Nor effeminate, nor abusers of themselves with mankind, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of God. Now, if you love somebody, you're not going to exclude them from nothing that you doing. You know what I'm saying? And God, he just excluded fornicators, idolaters, effeminate, extortioners. He excluding them all out the kingdom of God. So I can't read what people are saying. What is to be believed, the doctrine of Christ nowadays. It's not because I can't read it. It's so messed up. It's so messed up nowadays. And I get frustrated. I get very frustrated with it because people are going along with it. People are going along with this stuff. People going along with, this heaven doctrine, this pagan holidays. They going along with it. Why? Because the watchman is strengthening the hand of these people. If the Lord sent these preachers, you wouldn't eat pig. You wouldn't celebrate pagan holidays. You wouldn't tell the effeminate that God love you anyway. It's okay. Come on. You wouldn't do this. He said, if you love me, keep my commandments. And right here he said in verse 10, he said, nor covenants. Nor idolaters. What the law say? Have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not covet. If you love me, keep my commandments. He didn't get this book. He didn't have this book written. He didn't put all this instruction in here and then just say, well, this book, it's optional if y'all read it or not, but you can serve me the way you want. You ain't got to read this book. Now, this book here for a reason. Pick it up and read it. I like this acronym, that I seen on internet for Bible. Basic instruction before leaving earth. That's what this Bible is, basic instruction. And I can understand why people are so hung up on deception. And this because this nowadays, this Christian thing, it's too easy for them to walk away. They ain't gotta do no work. That's what they taught. You ain't gotta do no work. Just believe. That's all you gotta do. Just believe. You gotta keep no commandments. Just believe. So I can understand why it's hard for people to walk away from that into this. You gotta do some work in this. You gotta labor. So I can understand why people don't want to leave, the traditions of men behind. But when I come to people with this, I tell them all the time, I'm not trying to tell you what to believe in. God made us all free agents. But let's just reason in the word for a minute. You know, because people don't even know who they are. That's why we doing this series to help y'all identify who you are. And once you find out who you are, you will know that it's important to study this word, because once you find out that you the chosen people of the God of this Bible, you gonna find out what you was chosen to do. And once you find out what you chosen to do, and you gonna know that it's imperative that you read this book. Because what we chosen to do, we chosen to eat this book and give it out to all the rest of the sons of Adam. That's what we chosen to do. But I hope y'all got some understanding. Like, again, Shabbat Shalom. You know, uh, we'll be finishing up the series on the true Israelites next week, so be looking out for that. And you know, you will be seeing me doing a couple of more lessons here and there. You know, I wanted to do this because, you know, it's my job to do it. And, you know, I just feel like the people should be aware of what's going on. So, again, Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for your time. Have a blessed Sabbath. Peace.